it's actually hard to imagine anything closer to the opposite of where we were last year than where we're standing right now. And you might think, being here with us, it's hard to imagine anything more beautiful than the surroundings that we're in. Well, luckily, there are some people in this world who have incredible imaginations. And I want to introduce two of them now, two visionaries from the world of architecture and peace building who are bringing together communities in a participatory way to imagine a post-conflict future for Cyprus. Socrates, Stratis, and Esra Akbil are both professional architects and also active at the University of Cyprus, where Socrates is a professor. They're going to talk to us about an incredible project they've been doing called Hands-on Famagusta. And so without further ado, Socrates and Esra, the stage is yours. Give them a big hand.
Okay, great. Thanks very much for the invitation, and we start with a video and then we go on. Okay, this was a video, it's like a trailer for a web platform we are preparing, and that's what we're going to talk about, in fact. And here we are. Okay, so with Esra, we are part of the Hands-on Famagusta group, and in fact we're talking about Famagusta in Cyprus. Sorry, I have to get that's with the technology. Yeah. Here's Nicosia, here's Famagusta. And Famagusta or Amochostos or Mausa are the reciprocal English, Greek and Turkish names of the city. Its inhabitants are Greek Cypriots and Turkish Cypriots. However, after the 1974 war between Turkey and Cyprus, the city has been deprived from its Greek Cypriot inhabitants, who were displaced to the south part of the island during the war, and the Turkish Cypriots were displaced to the north. The many enclaves of Famagusta included Venetian walled city with a port and a university enclave, together with the Turkish army control and really notorious, probably you know, part of the ghost city of Varosha, where there's an abandoned part of the city where 30,000 Greek Cypriots used to live. The aim of the project is to contribute into the creation of a Cypriot commons to play a role in the island reunification process. And I think that's what's been said before, how the people can have a say on the negotiation process. And how we can create support structures to, in fact, generate a public debate about Famagusta's unified future after political agreement, but at the same time start now, as you will see. This is a project team, it's a work in progress, There are a lot of people working on it, and we thank them all very much. We have with us here Emre, who is not here, Chrysanthi and Angeliki. We thank very much also our funding that you can see there. They're the USAID, UNDP through Mahala, and the in-kind University of Cyprus. The project started, in fact, 3 years ago almost, with an informal group called Imaginary Famagusta we're part of, and they are working a lot with a more contractual project that we had. And I think what's very important is how you can begin to prepare the grounds for sub-projects. Our presentation is divided in 3 parts. I will talk about the first one. The second one will be Esra and me just commenting on some parts, and then me again talking about how this could open up to other kind of contexts. So this is the landing page of the web platform. And we are looking at this web platform as a project. It has actors, alternative communication tools, controversies, negotiations, means and ends. In other words, it's a political action. And what we, in fact, emphasize is the fact that this project has a lot of projects within it, and then there's this kind of multiple interactivity between them. And by the end of the day, there's this kind of dynamic and non-linear relationship between them. And I think that's where technology comes in for us, that it's not a tool, that it has a kind of a neutral value, but it's an active agent, and it has, in fact, a very important role to play into the creation of the commons for the Cypriot civil society. It has a lot of dynamic hidden programs that they keep adjusting this technology during its making, that we're actually working on now, but we hope afterwards during its use. And why are we doing that? And I think it's very important to see how we are confronting 3 kinds of challenge in contested spaces such as Famagusta Cyprus. The first one is to navigate in an actual hostile environment, because there is no political agreement, and we need to start planning about the future of a city which hasn't any kind of informant and support to us. We have split narratives that you're going to see, and also it's very important to see how different kind of informalities generated in order to support that. The second challenge is to change actual split mental maps of the Turkish Cypriot and Greek Cypriot Famagustians. The third one is to provide alternative approaches to after peace agreement urban reconstructions, and in fact to reclaim the engagement of civil society to the making of the commons of Famagusta. So let's connect these 2 between the challenges and how we confront them through the web platform. That we see, in fact, the platform itself as an instant territory that generates temporal communities across the divide. And what we've done, I mean, we are Greek Cypriots, Turkish Cypriots. We met, as I said before, a few years ago. We didn't know each other. Our mental maps were completely split. And in fact, it was after 2003 when the checkpoints opened that we could, based on our personal networks, to start working together. Plus, we are profiting from this comfort zone conflict. It's actually Cypriot is the most kind of comfortable conflict in the world. We're not killing each other, so we can actually talk to each other, even if there's not a political agreement. So we use informality as a tactic to bypass a lot of institutional difficulties that there are, and to playfully engage the users to bypass their kind of dead ends and stereotypes. For the second challenge, the platform itself becomes like a thick interface and provides alternative representations for Famagusta territory. So it becomes, in fact, what we did as a team, the Imaginary Famagusta emerged out of this debate around how you represent a divided territory, contested territory. and at the same time through a lot of offline activities that yield to new representations and influence the mental maps of the people. And that's been done so far, and I think we have some hope on that. Now, the third challenge: what happens after a peace agreement? And I think what's really very difficult to see is that if there is not any civil society constructed, usually peace agreements end with huge reconstruction processes. And what we want to do is turn architecture and urban design into active agents to put these issues on the table and power, in fact, the civil society. I think it's how we contribute to the culture of the civil society now, how we can empower it, and what we want is to formulate new questions to the politicians so they get their responsibility on their decisions, and what kind of urban, in fact, logic shall one use. So I pass the word to Esra.
So we will. So we will look into the web platform as a binding project, and also we will also look into the background of the logic of the website and its methodology, and we will kind of unfold the project into 4 topics. We will look into the enclaves that forms the city. We will look into the 3 unifying visions that we are proposing for the city. We will look into the cities, the emergencies within the city to create the commons for the city, and we will look into the 3 pools of the controversial matters. So the enclaves, what are they? So this is our landing page, and what you see is actually the city divided into parts. These are urban isolated parts within the city, and they're not isolated just because of physical borders, but they're also isolated because of social reasons, because of their qualities, urban qualities, natural qualities that we will look into. But what we present to the user of the website is a fragmented city. It's the fragmented city of Famagusta. The users, it will be a kind of complicated system for the users to navigate within the website. So we always, for the first time user, we always provide a how-to guide to navigate within the website and see what are the possibilities that online platform brings the user to get into the website. So what they can do, an international user can enter into each and every enclave and read through to see what's the reason behind the fragmentation of the city and what are the enclave becoming conditions of each and every enclave. Or a local user can enter into an enclave, can select an enclave to see more about the images or the memories somehow uploaded into the enclave. They will be able to see the border conditions. They can be a variety of reasons because of security or because of, again, several reasons that we'll look into. They will look into the actors and images as well. So here in this case we see the port area of the city. This one is another enclave which we're talking about. This is Varosha, which is right now a military zone. So they can, here as well, they can click and see their own houses even, and they can also upload some images. Here are more images from the now ghost city. You can also click and see more information about the Old Town, for example, which brings in very valuable cultural heritage of the island, which are Venetian city walls and Lusinian buildings, cathedrals, residential buildings. We can look into the split mental maps as well.
Yeah, I think what's important to realize is that if you put Amojostos on the Google, you get a set of images, and if you get, which is this part of Famagusta, which you see in color, and if you put Mausa on the internet, then you get images from another part of the city. And I think it's very important to realize this split mental map, which is really embedded within the society. And one of our kind of messages across is that Famagusta, its best scenario is going to be the new divided city of Cyprus. So Esra said about the enclaves before. I'm just going to go through them, just to show you that by working on how the territory is fragmented, we kind of made this move of, instead of having two parts, to have multiple parts, and then start generating a debate. So these are the dynamics behind why these enclaves are gone. So I will just go and you see colors. If you need any more information, you just come to us later. So these are the different dynamics that generate enclaves. The first one was war, the second one was zoning, third one was protection of culture, psychological, even nature within the city. And at the end, you have all this kind of extreme fragmented place. What we did, in order to prepare the web platform, we got all these kind of projects within the project, as I said before. So this one was having 40 volunteers, Greek Cypriots, Turkish Cypriots, meeting for the first time. And we scanned literally the whole Famagusta, except the fenced-off city that we're not allowed by the Turkish army. We're ready, though, to get in if we get the permit. And we generated data. Data is inexistent for the city of Famagusta. Data can be a political tool. And this is going to be part of the web platform, in fact. Esra.
So how do you unify such a fragmented city? We fragmented it into more pieces than two, which was creating that duality. So we came up with the three visions to build the commons for both ethnic groups in the Famagusta. So again, in the website, when you click on the upper line, you will be able to read the three unifying commons and also through the how-to. What are they? First of them is the thick public waterfront. So how can thick public waterfront ask questions that would go beyond the ones that you can ask through the ethnic division? So here people will be faced with several questions asked to them, and they will have the opportunity to start giving decisions. Questions can be questions such as, could Famagusta be connected with a public program that connects all its assets on its waterfront, for example? The next theme, unifying theme, is the shared infrastructures. And this unifying theme right now is actually an ongoing thing already, because the city is, part of it is military zone, but right next to the military zone you can see new hospitals being built, although there is another hospital in the city center. So how can we come up with shared infrastructures? How can people take a position there and give some decisions again? So we will ask questions like, could sharing public transport, public spaces, sewage, electricity, garbage collection promote the creation of a healthier city, a healthier society? The next unifying vision is ecoculture as common ground, as Famagusta actually have an unbelievable cultural heritage stock already through the Venetian times, British times, many different periods that pass through the Cyprus. It embodies them. And also it embodies many ecological assets like a lake as well, and also a river delta area. So we are asking again the users to start envision, what if the rich ecology of the city can become a driving force for an alternative feature of the city instead of the division? What if the exceptional cultural heritage of the city could unite instead of divide through different narratives?
And I think this was another kind of project within the project with the same 40 volunteers and others. We made a summer workshop last summer to talk about what's the minimum a city can have in order to be unified and have a kind of a competitivity in the contemporary society.
Well, those three visions were bringing in alternative questions, but Also, the reconstruction process itself, as we are projecting to the future of the city, so we're not really talking about right now, but we're inviting people to start imagine. We also wanted to point out certain emergencies related with the city's reconstruction processes, and also the climate change, the collection of the waste, and issues that can actually raise some commoning practices in the city. So again, from the website, when clicked on one of the 3 visions, there will be a new button emerging, which will be about reclaiming the city of emergency, which can be entered through the how to again. And in the reclaiming the city of emergency section, users will be able to get in and see the visuals and text related with the processes of reconstruction of the city. How, for example, we can see the reconstruction of Varosha, not only for the Varosha, but for the whole city. What if that reconstruction process actually helps us to transform the city as a unified one urban surrounding? So those questions bring again alternative visions for the people. This is more for informing them. So here in the reclaiming the city of emergency part, it's more for informing, for educating purposes, but it's not really interactive, asking their decisions.
I think what's important is to realize what's the condition now in Cyprus. We have the Greek Cypriot Famagustians who've been in kind of really seeking to go back to their homes. They believe that going back to a 1974 home, it will be very simple. And what we are actually doing through this web platform is changing the questions. For example, is it possible, for example, if you, I have here some numbers. If 8% of the area is demolished, how many trucks do you need to transpose the debris? You need 54,502 trucks. Where are you going to take that? There's not an answer to that yet. There's not a public debate on that. So our aim is to, in fact, viral the negotiations in an indirect way by having initiatives working on this, getting information from the web platform, and creating kind of pressures on different levels.
And that also brings a kind of awareness as well, thinking that, there is that demand of people who wants to go back to the houses they left with their keys in their pockets and opening their doors and getting in, which should not be the case. So this is really giving them a new vision into how things will be actually the day after. So how we combine the 3 visions towards generating scenarios, how do people decide? We decided to use the potentials of the enclaves, those partitions, to create what we call the if game. If game comes from imaginary Famagusta name, so it actually invites people to come and imagine about the future of Famagusta. So each and every enclave are actually graded. They have a certain grade of disposition from their original location, and original location is the 0 point, which is the combined city. So how we do it, we create this, we have created our own navigation system, and people with their decisions will be able to move the enclaves up and down, which will help them create a new image of the city other than what they will see in the homepage originally. So here in the thick public waterfront, for example, as they enter, they will be able to click on a controversy. A controversy is basically a question that is asked to the users that brings in that public debate about certain things that we want to emphasize within the city, which are questions that are asked through the urbanism, through urban design. So here, for example, the question is, what if port is the part of a thick public waterfront? So people will be able to answer these questions through generating scenarios from different information pools. They are actors and agendas, other cities, and urban design projects. So in actors and agendas, we have a series of actors related with the port enclave. So in the port enclave, for example, you can find actors such as citizens, such as government bodies, or they can be local institutions, but at the same time they can be some non-living things as well, like the cultural heritage buildings there, for example, will have a say as an actor as well. So clicking on an actor, people will be able to see the three different points of views. We call them agendas of different actors related with that specific enclave. And as they click on the agendas, they will be also able to see the alliances that form around that point of view. So when you start giving decisions, you will see who actually agree with you or who oppose you. So that will again bring a certain level of awareness, but it will also force you to give a decision knowing the consequences itself. So by selecting the agenda, you jump into the other cities platform. And in the other cities, we basically focus on, again, the conditions within the enclave, and we try to match them with cities around the world, especially within the Euro-Mediterranean region, to see how that relates with the Famagusta as well. So they will be able to compare Famagusta, several enclaves of Famagusta, with different cities such as Marseille, Beirut, Nice, Athens, for example, in the port case. Making a selection from here, they jump into urban design projects, which they will be able to see projects related with Famagusta, the projects that are actually studied by many people, including the academics as well. And also they will see international projects. So again here, they see new visions, they bring in new visions, and they relate them with the case in Famagusta.
So this has become, in fact, another project within this web platform project. And it's a pedagogical project this time. Through the University of Cyprus and through KTH, we worked for the last 3 years, I can say, with producing images of the possible and allowing to the students themselves to have the right to dream about the different Cyprus. And it really worked, it was really powerful, and we actually collected a lot of information and a lot of possibilities. And this one is in fact how you can reclaim the city of emergency, emphasizing that the reconstruction process itself should be the base of the construction of the commons of a city, and not just logistics of changing things. And these are some images.
The actors and agendas are also collected through some offline activities. We want to emphasize that as well. So these are not really points of views that we bring in. Actually, we collected people, we met with them, and they came up with their own points of views. So after you've gone through the three information pools and you start giving decisions, you start picking ideas for the future of Famagusta, all your input and decisions are actually re-evaluated to create a new image of the city. So dealing with the urban waterfront, the theme of the public waterfront, that will actually give you a certain creation of the public waterfront. Every user can have two versions, so you can create a more segregated and disconnected city, or you can create a more connected and unified city. So you will be testing yourself as well. And if you are okay with the Famagusta, and after the if game, if you are okay with your imaginary Famagusta, you can actually share it you can upload it into our users' imaginary Famagusta pool, and you can also share it online, inviting more people to play that game. And here, this archive also brings in a new opportunity. You can enter and see other people's imaginary Famagustas. You can see what kind of decisions they have given. You can pick your favorite one and continue, or other people can pick your imaginary Famagusta and they can build upon it. And you can actually also visualize, you can see who created what and what was the process of creating that common imaginary Famagusta eventually.
Yeah, I think what's very important is we had a lot of discussions with the Mahalla people, and thanks very much to Elena. We talked about these collective decision processes, how people some of them are kind of eager to create, others are not, but they're eager to support or modify, so it becomes a kind of a collective authorship on things. So now, opening up or closing. This is our logo. Probably you realize our logo, it was everywhere in our images. It's called the Action Dove. And we have, in fact, a stencil, and we are graphicking. We started graphicking in Nicosia, and we're going to do it in Famagusta too, and all over. So if you follow us on the Facebook, there will be a moment that we can handing out stencils, and you can do it anywhere you want. So in fact, the projects within the projects are having their own life, and they're taking off the website, the web platform itself. And that's one of it. You can see some of the images. We had fun doing that, in fact. And how to transpose the Hands-on Famagusta methodology to the other contested territories, it's kind of our input to this conference. And first of all, I think it's important to talk about two kinds of contested territories. One has to do with pluralism, that you don't accept anybody but your kind, and the other is sovereignty, that has to do with ethnic and more kind of war. And there's a lot of literature on that, and we actually talked already to Gafi King from the Belfast University, and they have been in different times part of this initial project. I think what it's very important is how you can create alliances, new alliances of urban actors across divides, and how you can make the leap from divisive, non-negotiable narratives, and in fact allow the pluralist practices to come in. And what we are in fact emphasizing is that, and that goes back again to this kind of skepticism of peace as a concept, because I think most of the times peace processes come with neutralization of societies, and our kind of contribution to this debate is that we are promoting this conflictual consensus, and that this kind of agonistic society can begin to have a role on these issues. So by turning ethnic conflicts into urban controversies that Esra was talking about, it's for us very important. So how to transpose this methodology? First, you have to define the target of these divisive urban narratives that are embedded in the cityscape. Then you generate mapping methodology to transcend this spatial partition, and this begins to create common imaginaries. And this can be offline and online. I think this web platform cannot work as only an online. It's kind of a generator of offline activities. Then discover visions for building commons for a city so it can transcend divided territories. Then explore controversial matters for building such visions. Because usually I think the bet is how you do things. Even most of us know what should be done, but most of the time it's very hard to go there. Therefore, how we can make explicit these conflictual actors' agendas, make in fact transparent the process of making things, and bring concrete references from other relevant cities. I think that's this notion of comparison, usually for people who are not aware with urban issues, it's really useful because you can actually compare two. And then linking to the academia, I think, to produce more images about what is possible. And I think architecture, urban design, and visual arts are one of those material practices that really produce this kind of images of the possible, and they can feed public debates. And I think that may be a tool to this kind of bridging the gap between civil society and the elite of the politicians. Reclaim, in fact, even to these so-called emergency conditions, and that we know all that they are increasing in the world, not only as a war, but as a crisis condition. So how the commons can survive with that, it's very crucial. And last, which is something that we are hoping is going to go through, how the public debate keeps feeding the platform and in fact has a life after. Thank you very much. We can have some questions, I think, now. So if you want to. We are.
We can take them after.
Okay. We can, until you think what you want to ask us, we can just add some stuff. First of all, this web platform will be on air end of May. And we are looking for partners to, first of all, run the web platform for Famagusta and create these dynamics in Cyprus, and then start relating it to other similar contexts. We have some contacts in Belfast and in Bosnia that may work on that. So if you have any links that they may help us, please feel free to tell us.
There's one question.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Jim Williams. I'm with Paul. Thank you very much for your presentation. I wonder if you could possibly talk some more about the different types of users that you are developing your website for. What perspectives they bring on how your website is aimed towards appealing to those users. Thank you.
Yes, I think we have a kind of a multiple target group. The first one is the young generation, that they are more kind of internet friendly, and they have not a direct relationship to the war. Then we were thinking of having the web platform as a kind of a media for education, having some programs with schools across the divide, and also people who want to connect back to the territory, people who lost like their homes since 1974, or people who want to kind of begin to actually see what is there now, plus become a tool for grassroots initiatives. So these are kind of some more. I'm sure Esra has more to that.
I can just give, like, very simply, even the example of me. For example, I was born after 1974, so I had no contact with the war itself. But I grew up in Famagusta, next to the ghost town. So as a user for like me and all the many Turkish Cypriot young people in Famagusta, it will give the opportunity, first of all, to start for the first time imagining for the future of the ghost city that we lived next to, scaring from that darkness. So it brings in that very valuable new perspective in the local level, to the Famagustians, to the Cypriots, and also imagine another Greek Cypriot young person living in Limassol, for example, or Bafos or Nicosia right now, and coming from a family, a Greek Cypriot family from Famagusta that had no connection to the city ever, although if you still ask them, they would say they're Famagustian. So again, for the first time, they will have that very valuable opportunity to think about a unified future for the city itself. And as Socrates mentioned, on many levels, it can become an educational tool as well for young people with the information it will give in. And we expect that it will actually expand through the uploaded information as well, as we are giving that opportunity for users to do.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Chip House from the Alliance for Peace Building, and I think like most people in this room, I knew about Cyprus a little bit before I came, but not really. And I've spent some time in divided cities before, and this one, as someone said, maybe you too, this one is a place that is not as angry as some others, but I was also grabbed by Helena's introduction, where she talked about 3 issues, 2 of which resonate in your talk. One is, how do you empower? And I can see that in what you're trying to do. But the second is, how do you have an impact? How do you affect the decision makers in the 2 communities so that you can get this place out of the gridlock that it's in, and how do you do that using this tool, which I think is really cool, but I don't quite see that yet.
Yeah, I think the impact can be kind of divided in different kind of levels. There is the impact that we have when this web platform will be launched, and we really don't know. It could be a total failure. But there are the impacts of the projects within the project that we presented. And we've been actually sensing, first of all, the visual impact of these new representations. So we kind of, the image that you've seen, we printed it in really huge size, and wherever we go, it becomes kind of our background, and people begin to rethink their kind of imaginary through those material agents. And that's just the beginning. I think it has this kind of very informal impact. And people, Turkish Cypriot people in Famagusta started already using our terminology of how they will work for the future of the city. What's very difficult, because the deadlock in Cyprus is 50 years old. I'm 51 years old. And I think it's, on one hand, it would be very naive to say that we're going to influence this political elite that was being mentioned before, because this political elite are part of a geopolitical game that's going on around Middle East. And however, I think this kind of reassembly of people, of a kind of a divided territory, that civil society, it's kind of 10 years old in Cyprus, thanks to European Union, in fact. So I think this, how to begin to talk about the commons, what's good for everybody, it's something very alien to the Cypriot society. So I think we are working on that level on different kind of issues, and that's where we think the impact will go, but not really knowing what is going to come at the end.
Thank you very much for the questions and for listening. We will be here all day for your questions. Thank you.
Thank you.